Chronicles TV on air. We are now live in 3, 2, 1.
Welcome back to another episode of the Great Ace Attorney Chronicles. In the previous episode, we went in to investigate the Crystal Tower area. Today, we're going to go into Madame Tussauds and see what the great Shakespeare, the great detective, Sherlock Holmes is doing. Oh my gosh. Madame Tussauds, Museum of Waxwork. Oh! What is going on? If you have today's episode, make sure that like button supports Great Ace channel. What is this place? Look at all these terrifying scenes. Well, why are the people so still? Guillotines, ruthless murderers. I know what I'll be dreaming about tonight. They're all wax models. They're all amazing realistic, aren't they? What do you think, Bruno? Shocked? Wax models? I read about dead bodies and wax once in a magazine about a strange phenomenon. Depending on how corpses are kept after death, parts of them can turn to wax, apparently. Called a adipose, I don't know. Stop talking about creepy things like that, Bruno. You're scaring me. Anyway, adipose, I'm just saying adipose. Doesn't have what? What now? I just remembered something else I read in another magazine about strange phenomena. There was an old lady, maybe a witch, who used to pour molten wax over corpses and put them on display. None of the exhibits here are real. They are entirely man-made replicas. I'm thinking of that one Disney movie, but I have no idea what I'm thinking of. They can't be. Do you really expect me to believe that? Just look at them. It's Tangle, but what was it? Rapunzel? Nah, Rapunzel has longer hair. I don't know about that store on the left, but the one in front of us... Oh, great, Mr. Sholmes. There's no way anybody could make models of people that are realistic. Is that supposed to be the story of Dr. Jekyll and Hyde or something like that? Or something else, but we'll figure it out. And there are all such gruesome scenes. Wait. What is it? Oh, no. I must be seeing things. Hey, yo! That better be... I don't want to know. What is this? Is this some infamous murderer? Yes, they call it Jane the Ripper. Okay, that's who I was thinking of. Jack the Ripper. All the victims were young women. I knew it. You can't tell by the way she's holding that knife. Sure, sign of a murderer. Yes. What's the matter, Bruno? I worked it out. I know what she's doing. She's trying to fill that bathtub with blood so she can have a soak of her victim's gore. Not according to the information about the exhibit on the little board here. It doesn't mention anything about the bathtub. Really? Sorry, I don't think it's significant. I still think it has to be there for a reason. We'll go with that in a bit. Okay, maybe not. These models are so well made, I can't tell what's a waxwork and what's real human. Or maybe all the exhibits are real people. And when it's closing time and all the visitors have gone home, they suddenly start moving about. Just think about it makes me wish it was so closing time already and I was on my way home. We got a dead body here. We got a dead body here. That big heavy curtain is a very prominent position, isn't it? I have a nasty feeling there's going to be something truly terrifying behind it. Oh yes, that's the famous Tussauds special exhibit. It depicts one of the England's most notorious killers. Do you want to pay the extra fee and have a look? Pay more money to be even more terrified? Oh, let me think about it for a moment. It was only a suggestion. He's dead. He actually dead. He dead. If If it's not a wax figure, it's dead man. It looks like an arm, doesn't it? Maybe one of the waxwork models have fallen over. You don't think it could be the work of one of the mass murderers in here, do you? Bruno, stop scaring me. Is it a wax arm or a real one? Come on, you're always pointing that finger of yours in the court. Poke that arm now and see how it feels. Objection! Oh, we'll be back to it. It's the great detective Sherlock Sholmes. Mr. Sholmes has his own wax figure in here, really? Well, he is well famous after all. It's an uncanny resemblance, isn't it? It makes my skin crawl to look at it. I know! Well, look, Bruno, you can kick this Hurley, and he doesn't move a muscle. You can't go around kicking the exhibits, Iris. Oh my god. Wait. It just moved, I'm sure. And not just a little bit either. Really? Did it? And look closely. There are beads of sweat of the face of this waxwork model. Shall we move on, Iris? Over there, look. There's a great murder scene to enjoy. Much more appealing. My dear fellow, I take exception to your recoiling in such a manner as if you've seen something truly abhorrent. Mr. Sholmes! I knew it. Iris, what's possessed you? I strictly forbade you from divulging my temporary waxwork secret to Mr. Naruto. Temporary waxwork? What do you mean? And Nakek, could you not have exercised a little more restraint? You winded me. But Rune has something he needs to ask you. Ah, a question. And I thought you'd probably be getting bored too. So here we are. Well, I can't deny that your timing was impeccable. A mere 2 minutes more being stationary like that, and my great brain upon which my success has been built would have been turned wax. Thank goodness we arrived in time. Indeed, in many ways, the pair of you just saved the world from an unmanageable loss. Oh, Hurley, you do like that talk nonsense, don't you? He could know something, it's true, about Lord Von Zeitz and what happened in the past changed him. Now that you're here, let's take our time. How can I be assistant? For your luck, I'm suddenly quite taken with the idea of conversing. Oh, well, actually, I'm in quite of a hurry. And if my eyes don't deceive me, I believe something is afoot within the walls of this very museum. A most fascinating case, if I'm not mistaken. Really? Moreover, I have a strong suspicion that is related to the matter of which you've come to me now. But how could it be? We shall speak again presently, my dear fellow. But for now, I must return to my work. What? Back to being a temporary waxwork exhibit? What is this place? Madame Tussbells came to London from France 3 years ago, I understand. Since she opened this little waxwork museum last year, it enjoyed great popularity in London. There are museums like this in Japan too. Oh, but these displays are something else. I mean, they aren't made from actual real people, are they? The extreme realism of these waxwork models is a particular secret of the Tussbells family, they say. They earned renown during the French Revolution for waxwork of victims of the guillotine. That sounds grim. The gruesome scenes were portrayed with such realism and expression of the faces of the condemned. Apparently, the sculptors would make the models directly from the corpses, right there at the site of the executions. That really turns my stomach. That's just one of the several legends about the Tussbells family. Whether there's any truth in it, I couldn't say. But anyway, this museum houses models of famous people from all over the globe. Nevertheless, the most popular area of the museum by quite some margin is the House of Horrors. House of Horrors? Of course, visitor numbers are dwindling now as a result of the great exhibition, but people usually flock here to exhibit some of the London's most vile criminals in their gruesome work. Naturally, most of the miscreants portrayed here were sent to the gallows. So, they're even stiffer now than the models of them. Ha ha ha! Have you heard of poor taste? My dear fellow, the public live for poor taste. They yearn to be shocked. So, the hideous exhibits in here are...
They're all portrayals of real events that actually took place.
Is it just me, or did the temperature in here just seem to drop? Anyway, I'd advise you not to think too deeply about this. You see here? Oh, he's back to being a waxwork, is he? What do you mean by a temporary waxwork, Mr. Sholmes?
Exactly what you see.
I'm part of the exhibits here, catching these criminals in the act. Catching them? Every half an hour, I home in a different killer in one of the displays and adopt a new pose to ensnare him. When members of the public come for a closer look, I offer them a hand to shake. For a shilling, I'll happily allow them to take a photograph with us. Us? Does he mean him and the waxwork murderers in here? But why, Mr. Sholmes? My dear fellow, isn't it obvious? For the money! He really roared at me there. Very fitting for the House of Horrors. As it stands, I may struggle to pay this month's rent, and I have the ravenous iris to consider.
Oh, Hurley, I'm so hungry.
If push comes to shove, I shall have to ask you to do your bit, Mr. Naruhodo. Was he threatening to rope me into it now? So, with that in mind, how about a photograph? A special treat you may have to pick of your murderers and scoundrels in here. The choice is yours. Maybe some other time. Remember, Mr. Naruhodo, ignore me at your peril. Back to being a waxwork again. Is it just me, or did his final remark there sound like a curse? Well, what is it that you'd like to ask me then? Actually, it's about Lord Von Zykes. Ah, our friend Mr. Reaper. How did you find him? Well, I trust. And so I filled Mr. Sholmes in about everything I learned. About Lord Von Zykes, about Professor Harebrain, and about the strange coincidence that they had been at the university together. So I'm wondering what would happen to make Lord Von Zykes such a different person.
I was sure that you know, Hurley.
You said there was something going on here in this exhibit hall before, that something was afoot, and that you believe it was related to what I wanted to ask you about. Mr. Sholmes? He suddenly clammed up. Well, it seems we reached the unavoidable... Greetings? Who the heck? Oh, hello. Where did she appear from? And what's she wearing? Does she look any more mysterious? Yo!
I hope you are appreciating my museum.
Sorry, have we... Mr. Sholmes, do you know, not again.
My apologies. I am Esmeralda Tuspels. This is my museum of waxwork.
You're the Madame Tuspels?
Benswar? Well, only 26 years young, I might add.
Is that significant somehow?
I'm a madam in name only. It's at a certain jeunesse.
I don't know how to speak French. Right.
Firstly, I must apologize for my waxworks. Or rather, one waxwork in particular.
That'll be Mr. Sholmes then.
I was led to believe he was a great detective, but he seems unable to settle. Next time you move from your designated exhibit, there will be toil and trouble.
Oh my god.
She sounds deadly serious.
That's a problem. How am I supposed to ask Mr. Sholmes about Lord Von Zykes now?
Let's not forget what Hurley said before, about something being afoot. Right here in the museum, I mean.
Yes, I know, but...
I'm so curious, I want to know what's happening here. Haven't we got enough of our plate already?
Conversate. Did you make all these waxworks, Madame Tuspels? Yo.
I did. I am the 3rd generation of waxwork artisan. You know. Gosh! It was my grandmother who began the tradition in my family. Her fortunes were checkered. living through the turbulent times of the French Revolution as she did. Though, that is when she acquired the savior fare that led to the astonishing lifelikeliness. All these waxwork really do look as though they were alive. In fact, they look more alive than Hurley. What you see exhibited here represents the most atrocious of London's criminals past. All the waxwork were created in the presence of the real people on which they are modeled, in the hours immediately following their executions. That is the secret to the extraordinary lifelikeness.
That sounds terrifying.
All walks of life have similar challenges, I'm sure. To carry out one's trade per excellence, one must go to the extraordinary lengths. My exhibits are a reflection of society. I create only that which the public wishes to see.
Why couldn't the public have wished for something less horrifying?
Do not fear.
Sorry?
This room is the only one in the museum with such a macabre theme. I do hope you explore. There are more models of famous singers, actors, politicians. Something for every taste, I hope.
It was Iris who dragged me straight in here. How to think of it?
Sorry, perhaps I should have eased you into things.
What's the situation with that?
Ah, my temporary waxwork model? He approached me some days ago, you see, with a business proposal.
Business proposal?
Oh, what sort of proposal?
My dear madam, what the sparse exhibits need is the addition of the world-famous great detective.
Or words to that effect.
Ha 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 ha.
Naturally, I am well aware that Sholmes is widely known in London as the talented detective.
It's great detective, actually. He's very specific about it.
Yes, the creme de la creme. So I was keen to come to some arrangement with him, of course. But sadly, we're unable to agree in terms.
Let me guess, someone wanted to change an exorbitant price for the service? For a mere 500 pounds? I will dive into your cauldron of wax this very moment. Oh my god.
Or words to that effect.
Mr. Sholmes might have overdone it slightly with the sales pitch.
Regrettably, the museum has shortage of funds at the moment due to foreseen circumstance. So we came to the current arrangement instead.
Surely he doesn't really need to do what he's doing though, does he?
I would think not, but he was very insistent.
I have a 50 shilling problem that must be resolved by this morning.
Or words to that effect. It's the pawnbroker, that's what it is. He must have something to redeem.
Is the consulting detective work not going so well? I wonder, could I ask you something? I don't know. I'm just curious, is anything going on in the museum at the moment? Some kind of incident, perhaps?
Whoever suggested such a thing to you?
Oh, well, it was your temporary waxwork over there who mentioned to me a little... Oh, he disappeared. A wax model is a work of art, not some tawdry object for trade. Who? There you are. Oh, I know what we're gonna get into.
Leaving the exhibit again when you should be working. Do you wish to be melted down?
For 500 pound shillings. My dear Madam Touchbell, save your reprimands. There are more pressing concerns. The wax can wait. It's our ideas about your current problem we must throw into the melting pot instead. The melting pot. Personally, I would advise you to involve the police, not to involve.
Why ever not?
She's turned as white as the sheet. Because you have at your disposal a great detective whose services you may employ for more 50 shillings. Though please be aware that I prefer no. I insist upon payment in advance.
Very well. Let us see if the great detective is able to live up to its name, shall we?
Before I engage my analytic process, I must ask you to clarify something. What, pray, is behind the curtain?
That is the Tuspel special exhibit. There's an extra charge to see it.
Ah, the special exhibit in the House of Horrors. It must depict a special killer then, I presume? Who would you be so kind to draw back the curtain, I wonder?
Absolutely no. There's nothing amiss behind there.
Nothing amiss, madam? What about the arm protruding ominously from the under curtain? I strongly encourage you to allow me to see what lies beyond before the situation worsens.
Yes, very well. I will draw back the curtains, but only a soup cone.
What? Cutscene time? Number 139. I must confess, I peeked behind the curtain earlier. The Tuspel special exhibit is a very bleak graveyard scene indeed. But what of the arm? And yet, somewhat surprisingly, the Waxwork killer one would expect is nowhere to be seen. What does strike one, however, is the portly gentleman lying peacefully on his back on the floor. Well, there perhaps, Mr. Sholmes. That man on the floor is the ruthless killer himself. I'm afraid not, my dear fellow. He's perfectly ordinary London gentleman, not even a waxwork, in fact. What? As skillfully made as these waxworks are, they are always distinguished from real humans. So, allow me to present my two conclusions. The first is the sizable business transaction has been taking place in this special exhibit.
Why would you say that?
And the second is the aforementioned transaction is linked to a serious crime. She looks as pale as candle wax.
I don't understand.
So, Madam Tuspels, as you agreed to my fee, you shall now have the pleasure of seeing this famously great detective and temporary exhibit at work. Here we go! The game is afoot. Waxwork's fate. Q. To begin with, we must ask ourselves what exactly is afoot here in this museum. The answer is revealed by the bundle of banknotes protruding so helpfully from your bag. Banknotes? In my estimation, some 200 pounds?
That is my own money.
And so what does this large sum of money reveal? Not as much as the involuntary glance you cast, and it would seem, Madam Tuspels. Yes, the answer lies where your eyes now fall. The significance of the 200 pounds is revealed by the public notice. Waxwork for sale? Your business has hit hard times, it would seem. In short, you sold the infamous killer the centerpiece of your special exhibit for the sum of 200 pounds.
No!
Now, let us explore the next curiosity which we are here presented. Who is the portly gentleman stretched out so peacefully on the floor? It would appear the man has suffered a severe shock, the cause of which is clearly known to you. Unfortunately, madam, keeping secrets does not appear to be your forte. What dealt the man such a shocking blow was, of course, the 200 pounds. It would appear that you twisted the gentleman around your little finger most effectively.
What are you suggesting?
He rationally agreed to purchase the waxwork for the sum of 200 pounds. Only when he came to hand the money over did it occur to him what extortionation amount he was paying. But the money was no longer in his hands. And the result? The scene we see before us. He collapsed in shock. Yes, the killer and special exhibit fetch a killer price. We can only pray the gentleman's dreams are not plagued with regret. And that's topic 1. Sold for cash. Number 2. Waxworks location. The question that arises then is, what has become the waxwork that changed hands? Let's consider the problem for a moment.
You cannot possibly.
The immediate strikes me about the conundrum is the young man standing over there. Who is this fellow? To find the answer, we need only observe his neckerchief. Neckerchief? Such as the worn by the policeman as a secret sign to fellow members of the force that a crime is being perpetrated. Yes, this young man is undercover policeman, currently investigating the museum. I know him well, in fact. It's Sergeant John Clay.
What are you talking about?
The man's quite a celebrity. He received triple accolades at last year's policing awards.
But
that's the real guy. Next, we turn our attention to the old man sat before him with a particularly unsightly visage. I've been watching closely and he hasn't moved a muscle. Almost, in fact, as if he were a waxwork. I think it's the other way around, Chief.
But you...
Your reaction only confirms my suspicions, madam. I noticed it once, of course, observe. The telltale signs that instantly proves whether or not the old man is a waxwork is an obvious price tag. Or the freaking neckerchief that you described earlier. His weapons? A tragically low price, you might say. Though perhaps the going rate for aging waxwork riddled with cracks. And yet you sold to the portly gentleman for an exorbitant 200 pounds. A sort of plucky behavior that's sure to attract the attention of Scotland Yard, isn't that so, madam?
I do not...
Yes. The waxwork you sold has already been seized by the police and remains in their custody as we speak. The old man must be reunited with his grave in the special exhibit, and not a moment too soon. Discovered already. Let's conclude Sherlock Holmes' great deduction, the horrifying puzzle. Yo! Put that thing down. I see I've stunned you all into silence.
You have, Hurley, you have. And you've obviously upset this young lady in the process. Her cauldron looks awfully hot.
If I could just bring up 1 point, Mr. Sholmes. The notorious Naruhodo 1 point. I'm all ears, my dear fellow. According to the deduction, then, the special exhibit featured this old policeman. So that would mean that he's a particularly ruthless murderer, wouldn't it? The killer policeman, Arthur Mole. Sorry? It was a mysterious series of murders that rattled the Capital One last year. The police rushed to see the scene every time, only to find the culprit had disappeared into the ether.
And it turned out the culprit was a policeman himself, a senior officer by the name Arthur Mole.
So you mean that's who the sinister-looking old man there is supposed to be? Indeed, it's a particularly grim face, is it not? Unforgivably, in fact, yes. I remember that odious countenance only too well. But it's only 200 pounds, a lot of money for a wax model. It would be enough to afford one of the latest stamped carriages if that puts things in perspective. So, it is quite a lot then.
Is there anything else you wish to add before I melt you down?
That bubbling wax is looking more and more ominous.
The smell of all the molten wax is starting to worry me.
Mr. Sholmes did more or less accuse her to face, so I think I might have to call on your assistance here, Iris. If that's alright, to make some minor corrections to the great detective's great deductions.
Of course it's alright, we'll soon set things straight.
Well, let's get straight then, shall we? Before Mana Tuspils bends her anger. Just what I was waiting to hear, my dear fellow. So, Madam Tuspels, in accordance with our agreement, you shall now have the pleasure of seeing this famously great detective and the temporary exhibit at work. Here we go again. Sold for cash. To begin with, we must ask ourselves what exactly is the foot, blah blah blah. So we got the first thing right, is that whatever's in that bag. First one. Second one coming up. Cassie would say, Madam Tuspels. Yes, the answer lies where your eyes now fall. The significance of the 200 pounds is revealed by that public notice. Hold it, Mr. Sholmes. She definitely looked in this direction, it's true.
But I'm not sure she sell any of her waxworks, even for 200 pounds.
Oh?
She must pour her heart and soul into making them, don't you think? Over above the wax? If it were me, I would sell them for anything.
For that much money, I would, but it sounds like that makes me a bad person. Well, anyway, I wonder if the 200 pounds could have some other significance.
Let's follow the further glance again, see if there's anything else I could explain.
Can we move? Yo! What do we have here?
What's that note doing pinned on the wall there?
Oh yes, let's see. Dear Madam Tuspels, we've taken the prisoner from this room. The price for his safe return is 200 pounds. Have the money ready by noon on the 23rd October. It's the 22nd, huh? This is just like the sort of thing that left behind when someone is kidnapped.
Yes, it's a ransom note.
Exactly. Hold it! The significance of the 200 pounds is revealed by that ransom note. Quite so, and we congratulate these criminals on their investments conducting a waxwork. 200 pounds is no small ransom fee, yet you clearly intend to pay it.
The model in question has special importance, so I put together all the money I have.
In summary then, the 200 pounds you have in your handbag is ransom money. Now let's explore the next curiosity which we are presented. Who is the portly gentleman stretched out so peacefully on the floor? It would appear the man has suffered a severe shock, the cause of which is clearly known to you. Unfortunately, madam, keeping secrets does not appear to your forte. What doubt the man such a shocking blow was, of course, the 200 pounds. Hold it, Mr. Sholmes. So if the waxwork was kidnapped, where does that leave us in terms of who the man is?
We could just ask him where he comes around.
I think the point of this exercise is to understand the ability of the detection process, Iris.
Yes, you're right. Hurley's trying so hard. We mustn't let him down.
Well, there's a little doubt that he suffered a shock. There's that much that seems clear. But in that case, what's Madame Tuss was trying to hide? Let's have a closer look around. So, what is she? Yo, what up? Hey, yo! Whoa! What's that behind us? It was indeed a different hand, though.
This is just Madame Tuss's right hand, isn't it?
Yes, it must be. I can clearly see her left hand after all.
Oh, but wait a minute. This is the left hand as well, look.
Don't say such creepy things, Iris.
And it seems very stiff too. In fact, it's really hard.
You mean it's made of wax? Hold it, miss. Hold it. What dealt the man such a shocking blow was, of course, the waxwork hand. Indeed, with a solid waxwork limb, only one could deliver a very substantial blow.
How could you?
The hand protruding from the bottom of your cape. It ought to be right-handed, but closer inspection reveals that in fact is a left hand. And somewhat masculine as well. In other words, it does not belong to you, madam. It is the hand of the waxwork model. Yo!
Some of the visitors to my museum can be troublesome. They meddle with the exhibits and cause damage.
So you mean that arm?
Yes, this gentleman saw fit to try to remove it as a souvenir.
Huh, no small keepsake. Like tucking a whole branch of cherry tree when you go to view the blossoms.
I'm afraid I had to teach the man a lesson.
Uh-huh. You confronted the man and tried to take the arm back. And the result, the scene we see before us. He was knocked unconscious. And the point we need to revisit later, but for the time being, we have our conclusion. Yes, the killer in the special exhibit has been kidnapped. Kidnap the wax figure. The question that arises then is, what has become of the waxwork that changed hands? Let's consider the problem for a moment.
You cannot possibly.
What immediately strikes me about this conundrum is the young man standing over there. Who is this fellow? To find the answer, we need only to observe the neckerchief. Hold it! According to Mr. Sholmes, the yellow neckerchief is assigned to other policemen that some crime is underway. A way of communing with his colleagues without revealing the identity, yes?
It's a secret that is closely guarded by Scotland Yard.
That Mr. Sholmes didn't hesitate to give away.
Well, uncovering secrets is any true detective's nature, of course.
Right. Anyway, judging from Madame Tussbill's reaction to Mr. Sholmes' seduction, I think perhaps we might have identified the man quite correctly. Hey! What the? The man has a stub sticking out of his shoulder where his arm should be.
Ah, well that says that then.
Right, this is the real person at all. His entire arm's been ripped off from the shoulder down. His arm's been... Of course, that ties in with what we just found out.
Take that!
Who is this fellow? To find the answer, we need only observe his shoulder stub. No such boneless human walks the earth, of that I can assure you. In other words, the man standing here, the young Sergeant Young Clay, is in fact, defying all odds, a waxwork model. I seem to remember it was you who concluded he was a real person in the first place, Mr. Sholmes.
He has become quite a celebrity in London, being the winner of no less than 3 policing awards last year. I simply had to make a model of the man.
Naturally, what other explanation could there be? And it was the detective's arm that was pulled off by the man on the floor in the special exhibit, wasn't it? Next, we turn our attention to the old man sat before him with a particularly unsighted visage. That's the real officer right there. That's not the thing we're doing here. Hold it! A killer policeman called Oliver Mole, was it? What, was he well known?
It was all over the papers last year, but I can't say I know what he looks like. It's a very low price tag though. Threepence isn't much money.
Only enough for a few measly hours of gas in Mr. Garrett's delightful lodgings, in fact. Sad but true. So this is the special killer taken from the special exhibit, is it? The waxwork that somebody stole from the museum and tried to ransom for £200. Is it this crusty old killer policeman Oliver Mole, really?
Perhaps we should have a good look around again and see what another idea crops up.
Yo, he's moving! Look at this.
The old man's tapping his foot like crazy.
It seems he's asleep though. He's not tapping his foot consciously then, so you mean
it must be a twitch.
Never mind that. The point is the waxwork don't tap their feet.
Or twitch.
And look at this arm too. We've seen a scarf like that somewhere else around here, haven't we? Target sign that proves that whether or not the tag is obvious.
Take that!
The telltale signs that instantly proves whether or not this old man is a waxwork is obvious. The twitch. Even the the realistic waxworks do not exhibit a twitch. In other words, the splendid old man is in fact a genuine member of Scotland Yard. Slight shift in your choice of adjectives there, then. And there you have it. Well, Madam Tussfells.
What? It was me who contacted the police and demanded that someone come in the first place. He is clearly fatigued and is sound asleep.
But then, what's this tag about showing a price of 3 pence? No doubt the price tag of the muffler, which the old Bobby purchased recently at a local market. And I presume you observed the scarf tied around his arm. Does that not strike you, Mr. Naruhodo? Yes, the secret sign used by the detective to show that some criminal activity is currently underway.
Of course, because, as you know, there has been just as much criminal activity happening here. As you deduced from the very beginning, Detective.
So, it would seem that we finally arrived at the truth. The waxwork and the especially ruthless killer from the special exhibit has been kidnapped.
And Scotland Yard are already investigating. But the model's whereabouts remain a mystery.
Thus concludes Sherlock Holmes' great deduction of horrifying puzzle. Still a mystery.
It's elementary. All sorts of people visit my museum here, men and women, young and old. Sometimes they drop in just for a short time on their way back from the pub. I welcome them all. But if anyone tries to damage my exhibits, I do not take it lightly. Anyway. Your great deduction was even more enchanting than I had been led to believe.
It was a pleasure, my dear madam. I'm gratified that you enjoyed this spectacle. And as for your rough customer, I have no doubt he'll regain consciousness shortly and return home. What concerns me more is the waxwork from the special display, if it was indeed genuine abducted.
Yes, tragically, it was.
And I would ask you to recount to us the events surrounding the stolen waxwork. As much detail as possible, if you please.
Very well, but after I have told you what I know, I must insist that you return to your work.
The talents of great detective could be put to better use, I feel, but as you wish. Converse. Tell us more about the stolen waxwork, please.
It was some days ago now when I came in here one morning. I immediately noticed that a waxwork of mine was missing from the special exhibit here. Is it your most prominent? So that's why your curtains were closed? And I found the ransom note in its place.
The culprit must have broken in during the night and taken it then.
So this waxwork that was stolen
was a model of some horrible criminal, I suppose?
Of a particularly horrible criminal, in fact. The killer who left a more profound scar on society than any other, I would say. The Professor.
Not a name I've heard of. So, Mr. Naruhodo, it seems the circle is complete. Sorry?
The professor case happened at around the time I was born, didn't it?
Indeed it did, Iris. 10 years ago, a series of murders that rocked the capital.
10 years ago?
Yes, at exactly the time that Barak von Zykes graduated from university, in fact.
What? Surely he's not saying. So the big event that changed Mr. Reaper's life?
As you surmise, it was the professor's case.
Who was the professor then? It was a series of gruesome murders that had all of London gripped in terror a decade ago. After 5 victims were killed, the man was arrested and put to death.
And now he's immortalized here in wax for all Londoners to admire and enjoy. Though, of course, he happens to be absent at present, on account of the abduction.
I don't understand. How is this all related to Lord von Zykes?
You must first understand, my dear fellow, why is it that the professor earned such infamy? It was due to the victims he chose, some of Whitehall's finest.
What do you mean, Hurley?
Those murdered by the professor were some of the highest members of British aristocracy, members of nobility, even royalty. It sent shockwaves to the country's administration. Members of the...
Wait, of course. What Professor Harebrained said. Lord von Zykes is the family of noble blood.
It was the 5th victim that led to the professor's arrest. The last of the killer's prey was a young noble by the name of... Clint von Zykes.
No, I don't believe it. Von Zykes?
I'm sure you can piece together the rest for yourself. In the wake of his older brother's murder, the young Barak pursued a career as a prosecutor, and eventually became the Reaper we know today.
I had no idea Lord von Zykes had such a tragic past.
Well, I'm afraid that's all I can say on the matter, for the time being at least. After all, I have work to do. As a Waxwork exhibit.
I am afraid I shall have to excuse myself as well.
Oh yes, of course. It's been a pleasure. Thank you. Well, none of the predicted scenarios I've been analyzing involved for you to come to visit me here. Who? What? Where? Why? Yo.
It's been too long, it really has. I'm delighted to see you, Barak.
It's been 10 years, and here we are, meeting in the prison of all places.
I can't forgive myself for what happened to Mr. Osmond. I just can't. I still can't believe it. It could happen.
Tomorrow, the court will decide.
Yes. I have a young Eastern man acting for my defense. He really seems reliable enough, though. It was an accident. A terrible accident. He assures me he can prove it.
I must warn you.
Oh, I know. I've heard already. You're going to be prosecuting, aren't you?
Yes.
Since I returned to England, I've heard lots of stories.
Barak,
are you really?
What?
Never mind. I know that you have my best interests at heart.
My friend is on trial. I wouldn't entrust it to anybody else.
Of course, I fully understand. Thank you, Barak.
Until tomorrow, then. I'll see you in court. To be continued. Like, comment, subscribe. Chronicles XTV, and I'm signing out.